DPP, led by Deputy DPP Nicholas Mutuku, who insisted that there was a flight risk and did not deserve to be released on bail or bond. DEA's legal team, led by John Swaka and Cliff Fombetta, giving reasons why their client should be released.
Today he is presumed to be innocent until proved otherwise.
It is that gravity and the seriousness of the offense that was compelling this individual to keep away from his trial, because he knew the consequences of it, and that is why he fought his extradition for 12 years.
We know that this case is weak. The prosecution will want to tell you that this is a strong case. But for them to even go a step further than saying that, then they must delve into evidence. And we will not be allowing that. Not today, not ever.
According to his lawyer, DEA's passport and identification card were taken by the British authorities in 2007. But when it was time for him to be brought back into the country, those papers could not be found. Thus, he could not be a flight risk or have any reason to go back to the United Kingdom. The bishop, who was ordained by the United Evangelical Church of Kenya, has been in the United Kingdom since 1996, with his headquarter church in London and satellite churches in Liverpool, Nottingham, Luton, Birmingham, Manchester, Sheffield and Leeds.
If we had mentored about 4 the number of personal bishops who are in this country, Your Honor, was so difficult to come and submit himself to the Kenyan authorities and ask, what is this I'm hearing about? What are these allegations I'm hearing about?
He is having handcuffs. A man of God. A person who has been brought to this court in handcuffs. Does his dignity still remain? When you're escorted by police officers and prison warders, it diminishes your dignity. It kills your enthusiasm. It kills your effort to try and come back to court and fight this case. And he wants to fight this case.
In court Friday morning, DEA would answer to charges of stealing 5 children, whom he gave his last name, all under 14 years of age. The 3 girls and 2 boys found in a house number 226 in Mountain View Estate here in Nairobi County on August 19th, 2004, had begun living in that house from May 2002, March 2003, and May 1999.
Hawezi kuwa anaweza kama ni kuchukua watoto ku trafficking. Hawezi chukua watoto wengi namna hiyo kulingana na maisha ya Kenya.
His wife, Mary Dea, served a jail sentence for child theft in 2011. In her testimony, she claimed that she had given birth in a taxi hours before police arrested her in the hospital nursery with the baby. Ever since 2007, he has been reporting to the Darford police station in London between 3 and 6 p.m.
Release of the accused person on bond on 10th of August. In the meanwhile, the accused person will be remanded in custody.
For 12 years, Gilbert Juma Dea has been fighting against extradition back to the country of his birth. And now that he has lost that battle and has been brought back home, his next battle begins on August the 10th, when he shall find out if he will fight for his freedom again from behind bars or as a free man on bond. Leila Mohammed, NTV, Nairobi.
Into preparations for the big day that is August 8th, some youth at Machakos Country Bus Station are not allowing city residents registered as voters in Nairobi to leave the capital.
Well, the youth are verifying passengers' voter details through national ID numbers and voting cards before allowing them to board buses to travel up country.
Buses are also charging high fares for those traveling due to the heightened demand for transport services. Our
reporter Seth Olale has more.
Adopt a bus is what it has been dubbed. An initiative conducted by various groups of youth at Machakos Country Bus Station in Nairobi. All passengers have the identification and voters' cards scrutinized in order to be allowed to travel up country. All this is aimed at preventing Nairobi residents who register to vote in the capital from traveling up country.
So wale wamechukulia sana kule nyumbani, itabidi wasafiri wapige kisha warudi.
Tuseme kama wale ambao wamechukulia Nairobi lakini wanataka tu kwenda tu nyumbani, kwa likizo au wanafanywaje?
Ya kwa sasa hii hatuwezi tukaruhusu. Ya manake tunataka pia tulinde zile kura zetu.
Wale tumewakatia wanakubali. Mtu ukimwomba hebu nisaidie na ID yako, anakupatia ndio hii ID yako, una confirm, dakika kidogo inakuletea hizo details zote.
Kama uko na kura Nairobi na umetupea genuine reason ile unaenda kufanya nyumbani, tunakubali unaenda, lakini unatuhakikishia utarudi Nairobi upige kura.
Some of passengers indeed admitted to having undergone the exercise before they were allowed to travel up country.
Walikuwa naangalia mahali penye ulipigia kura. Wako tu sawa, lazima uangalie penye unafaa upigie kura. Wanafaa kozi wakitoka huko wakienda huko yatakuwa wanaachia nani mwenye atapiga kura huko.
Naenda kupiga kura kwa sababu sasa mpaka tupitishe mmoja wetu.
Na nikuulize, ulijiandikisha wapi, Nairobi ama Ushago?
Nilijiandikisha Ushago huko Siaya.
Kura yangu iko side za Ushago. Wakati nilikuwa utawala nilienda kutafuta kura, wakaniambia mahali penye nilikata last year nirudi mahali pale.
Tunataka kila Mkenya akue ameparticipate kwa kupiga kura. Kwa sababu gani? Ile kitu tunafanya ni kuangalia watu wenye wako na kura ya nyumbani na wana fare wanalipiwa. Na kama uko na kura Nairobi na umetupea genuine reason ile unaenda kufanya nyumbani, tunakubali unaenda, lakini unatuhakikishia utarudi Nairobi upige kura.
Tuseme kama mtu kuna matanga hivi ama
hao tunawakubalia, lakini after kupiga simu nyumbani tuna confirm unatupea namba ya mtu mmoja nyumbani. Si ati tunamuuliza kama mko na matanga. Tunauliza na sasa hiyo iko nyumbani hapo kuna shida gani? Wakituambia hakuna shida, tunajua unasema uongo. Tunakurudishia pesa yako kilo safi, unarudi kwa nyumba unapiga kura.
Una confirm ID yake ni ya hapa na unapata naenda nyumbani. Kuna mwingine anakuambia hebu nikatie risiti mbili ya kunipeleka ya kunirudi. Yes. Sasa mtu kama huyu unasema tu hapana, labda kuna shughuli nyingine nyumbani, then ana come back. Huwezi kata risiti mbili ya kutoka home na kuenda home.
Caleb Obiero is just one among the many Nairobi residents who are traveling up country in order to vote where they registered their vote. And right now, Caleb, habari yako? Hebu tueleze unaenda Ushago kwa nini?
Naenda kupiga kura huko Ushago.
Some also prefer to travel up country for safety and personal reasons.
Usitoroke, Mungu ndiye anapanga mambo. Wewe unaweza jipangia hivi, tena nyumbani pia kuwe na furgu. Jua hata huko nyumbani si ati kuna imani. Inafaa mali huko tukaa hapo, kama ni kura piga, ungojee matokeo. Na hata baada ya matokeo sisi tutaenda kuishi Tanzania, utaishi hapa Kenya.
The youth deny that they are agents of the political parties they support. Passengers are also complaining of hiked bus fares amid claims that it is intentional in order to prevent Nairobi residents from traveling up country.
Ila tunalipanga 700 ya kwenda Ushago. Sasa hii ni 2000, sasa tunaenda Christmas bwana.
Nilipishwa shilingi 1900 na tulikuwa tunalipa imagine kitambo shilingi 800, 900. Sasa unajua sasa hizi tunashangaa sana vile pesa zimepanda.
Vendors on the other hand are using the occasion to maximize profits. Seth Olale, NTV.
Well, safe travel to all of those who managed to get a ticket. And actually, we can take you live to some of the destinations for the travelers.
That's right. We said we have signals coming in from all over the country, right here to Nation Center. Larry Mado, take it away.
At least I'm one of the ones at the Nation Center. We have so much more signals from all over the country. And we're very proud to bring online our NTV Eldoret studio. And NTV's Jamila Mohammed is there for us tonight. Jamila?
Thank you, Mark and Vicky. In Nairobi, we are here in Eldoret in the county of Uasin Gishu in our brand new NTV Studios Decision 2017 coming to you from here. We'll be in this part of the country from today until the end of the elections when you have new leaders. That's when we will leave, pack up and leave and go back to Nairobi. But until then, we'll be here to bring you all the news on the elections from this part of the country. Today, we start in the county of Nandi, where we had an independent parliamentary aspirant for the seat in Emgwen, Meshak Kimutai, who was injured last night. There were reports that he had been shot, but he spoke to his followers through social media, Facebook, telling people that he is fine, he is well, he was injured, and he claims it is because of his main opponent. We can't verify those claims, but that's what he says. And for more on these claims by one Meshak Kimutai, we join our Uasin Gishu reporter Lois Wangoi, who is right here in our newsroom. Lois, can you tell us a bit more about Meshak Kimutai's injuries and claims?
Indeed, Jamila, as you note, independent candidate who's eyeing the Emgwen parliamentary seat, Meshak Kimutai, is indeed alive and well. He communicated that message today morning on his social media pages, specifically on his Facebook platform, where he noted that he is fit as a fiddle and that he will be participating as a candidate in the coming general election. There were rumors yesterday, or information coming in, that Meshak Kimutai had been shot, and indeed that he had passed on. Of course, very disturbing news that sent panic and shock in the county of Nandi. But it is clear now that Meshak Kimutai is well. It is not yet clear on what exactly transpired on the material day, but on his Facebook page, Meshak Kimutai noted that he was attacked by supporters from his opponents. Of course, there is information coming in that Meshak Kimutai could have been attacked by his own campaigners who are on his campaign trail, who are demanding their dues. All that is still subject to, of course, controversy and confirmation coming from either sides. But, of course, Meshak Kimutai now notes his fit as a fiddle, and he will be battling, among others, the incumbent and Jubilee nominee Alex Kosgei in third parliamentary seat. Jamila.
Thank you, Lois. Before I take you to Trevor Ombija in Kisumu, Lois, maybe you can tell me a bit more about what is expected tomorrow here in Uasin Gishu in a minute or so.
Here in the county of Uasin Gishu, indeed, also in the neighboring counties of Nandi and Elgeyo Marakwet, we expect a very busy or very vigorous political day. Remember, it is the last day where politicians will be going head-to-head and neck-to-neck, trying to convince the electorate that they are the people they should vote for come August the 8th, whether incumbents or aspirants. Jamila.
Thank you, Lois. And as Lois says, there's a lot expected in Uasin Gishu tomorrow, and we'll be here to cover it for you. Remember, it's the last day of campaigns, 48 hours before the elections. I'll take you now to Trevor Ombija in Kisumu from the county of Uasin Gishu. Have a good evening.
And live from Uasin Gishu, we are live in Kisumu, the Jomo Kenyatta Road, which is smack in the middle of the CBD. This is a place that is considered a NASA stronghold. We have colleagues covering all over the region. In fact, we have Enoch Sikoli who's covering Siaya, and we have Andrew Chieng who's covering Homa Bay and Migori. Let's take you straight to Siaya, where Enoch Sikoli is standing by. Enoch?
NASA coalition. But one important thing is also the home of NASA presidential candidate Raila Odinga. Actually, where I am from is near Bondo. Now, Bondo is the hometown of Raila Odinga, the NASA presidential candidate who will be battling President Uhuru Kenyatta on Tuesday in the battle for the country's top seat. Now, here in Siaya County, at the local level, there are battles, especially when it comes to the governorship seat. Cornel Rasanga, the incumbent, will be battling Nicholas Gumbo, who is vying for that seat on an independent ticket. Remember, there was a fierce battle during the ODM nomination where Rasanga won the nomination, and Nicholas Gumbo maintained that he will be on the ballot, and actually he is on the ballot on Tuesday. Remember, it is a race that has attracted 7 candidates, but that race has boiled down to only 2 candidates that is seen as let's say it's seen as a horse race between the 2 candidates. Now, one important issue that might determine the outcome of that election here, from the information I've gathered here, that 3 factors. One being the political, or the dominance of the political parties here. Number 2 is the issue of clanism. And number 3 is the affiliation. Now, when we go back to the issue of clanism, here Siaya County is divided along the river Yala. There's the upper Yala and the lower Yala. Now, Raila Odinga, who is the presidential candidate, comes from the lower Yala, while while the Upper Yala now maintain that it's their time. So it's a time where they will experience a lot of political battles here in Siaya County. But remember, Trevor Ombija will not just be here in Siaya County. I'll be traversing to the neighboring Busia County, where there is also a battle between ODM aspirant or ODM candidate, that is Sospita Ojamong, who is the incumbent, versus the independent candidate who is Paul Otuoma. From Siaya County, back to you, Trevor.
All right, actually, that's not Trevor Ombija, but Mark and myself right here at Nation Center. To more politics, political party leaders and chief agents of presidential candidates are content with the election preparations that the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission has put in place.
The IEBC has also pointed out that there may be inconsistencies with some results, but has made a decision on how to keep the whole process credible.
Contentment punctuated the banter among those at the floor of the Bomas of Kenya's main auditorium. This was after the leadership of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission took chief agents and other representatives of political parties and candidates through the various processes on the elections, which the political outfits had concerns over.
We've also discussed issues on the elections processes at the polling stations, to the constituencies, to the county levels. And I'm happy to announce that we are satisfied with the preparation that the IEBC has made so far.
Commissioners, we will basically be able to support the process now that we are fairly appraised on the process that we are quite happy with.
We are quite satisfied that the preparation is adequate. Obviously, there are certain small areas that are being tied up, and we believe that by Tuesday, all systems will be ready.
One of the sticky issues in the whole process has been the declaration of results and the integrity of the same. IEBC says that there may be some discrepancies, but quickly offers its way forward on the matter.
There is a possibility of inconsistencies between the keyed-in result transmitted by officers and the scanned forms transmitted. If this happens, the Commission has decided that the result in the scanned forms takes precedent.
Some parties have been unable to deploy agents to all the various polling stations, and the Orange Democratic Party wrote to the IEBC requesting for permission to allow candidates to double as agents.
The Commission has approved this request and encourages other parties that wish to take this approach to urgently inform the Commission.
Chebukati has once again called for caution and restraint in regards to propagation of fake news, asking Kenyans to weigh the implications of their actions. Dan Mwangi, NTV.
All the main party agents seem to be happy with the preparations. Let's see if a sample of the voters are happy and what their expectations might be.
Well, they'll be speaking with their votes on Tuesday, but let's get a bit more from them. Before they do that, Gladys Gashanja has a focus group in the NTV newsroom. Gladys.
Thank you, Mark and Victoria. Yes, it has been over 2 months of campaigning by the political elite. The question is, have the electorate been heard? What are the pertinent issues for them going into August 8th? As you rightfully said, I have 8 members of my focus group. Remember, this is the first time this is being done on Kenyan television. So let us get to hear from them with only the election 3 days away. So political party leaders, chief agents of the presidential candidates are content with the preparations IEBC has put in place. Question is, do you feel that the IEBC will deliver a free and fair election? And that question will go to Malasen Hamida. Do you believe IEBC will deliver a fair and credible election?
Thank you very much. I do believe they will.
Okay, I understand we shall be going back to them in a moment, but remember, they are very, very eager to give their view because they feel as much as the political elite has been at it, transversing across the country, some of the issues have not been addressed, and some of them, they need to hear them from them because a lot is at stake come August 8th. Back to you.
Thank you, Gladys. We'll be hearing from those who will be taking part in the vote. Now let's hear from those who will be observing this exercise. The African Union Observer Mission, led by former South African President Thabo Mbeki, has asked observers to report any incident they will witness during the general election.
The integrity of the election process and the preparedness of the IEBC to successfully conduct the election are some of the major issues that key stakeholders in the forthcoming general election have raised with the African Union Observer Mission.
In the meantime, the Kenya Human Rights Commission has expressed concerns about the IEBC's capability to hold a credible election, citing questions on counting, tallying and announcement of results, and the printing of more than 1.2 million extra ballots and printing of extra forms 34A.
Well, the KHRC wants IEBC to address the concerns raised to ensure a credible, free and fair election.
All of the actors, the people who are campaigning to win seats and so on, as well as the people managing the electoral process, that all of them seem to be very happy that the African Union was here. And indeed said some of them that because this is the AU, it becomes the first port of call for them in the event that some complications arise. So I'm really basically saying this, that wherever we're going to be in terms of this deployment, we do need indeed to do this observation. But I think that we should also bear in mind that it may very well be that the contestants might very well approach you, because you are AU observers, to say, please, here is a problem. Can you help to resolve it? And I think if we can, we should.
Kura Yangu Sauti Yangu notes a pre-election period that has been marked by a clear lack of respect for constitutional standards of integrity, public participation, and public expression.
If there are problems with digital transmission, there are no legally stipulated provisions that regulate what course of action the IEBC must take. This is a dangerous gap, and unless it is immediately addressed, it could lead to widespread confusion and chaos around results counting and announcement.
32 minutes past the hour, you're watching Decision 2017.
At least an hour and a half to go. We have much more from our multiple locations, live locations I must add, as well as another panel on security matters that are standing by with the bar line there. You're watching Decision 2017. We'll be back shortly. all be about the numbers, how they add up. And Smriti Vidyarthi will just illustrate how we will be able to break down some of these numbers.
All right, Mark and Vicky, thanks very much. Of course, we all know now just 3 days to go before the polls open. And what you need to know is that right here in our virtual studio is where we'll be bringing you all the crucial numbers as soon as the results start coming through. But for now, these are some of the numbers of interest. Now, have a look at this. 19.6 million registered voters are eligible to cast their vote on Tuesday the 8th this year. And that, in fact, is about 5 million more registered voters compared to 2013. Well, that number stood at 14.3 million. Now, there will be over 40,000 polling stations this year, but queuing for long hours could be a thing of the past, as each station will accommodate a maximum of 700 voters. And no doubt the 45,000 Kenya Integrated Elections Management System kits will also speed up that process. Now remember, you won't just be voting for your president, but your governor, senator, member of parliament, your women representative, and also your member of the county assembly. Now, of course, just to throw in that security is a big concern for many, but don't let that stop you from showing up to cast your vote, as the government has said that 150,000 security officers will be present to maintain law and order. Now, of course, after casting the votes, the results are what everybody will eagerly be awaiting for, and these will come through the media and the IEBC website. And this space is where we'll have all the numbers that you need to know about the race right here. So remember, you have no reason to go anywhere else. For now, though, let me hand over to our Mombasa studio with Harith Salim.
Thank you, Smriti. This is County 001, and rivalry between the gubernatorial candidates here, Hassan Omar and Hassan Joho, played out in public today during the final National Super Alliance campaigns in Mombasa. Supporters of the two candidates clashed as NASA leaders Raila Odinga, Kalonzo Musyoka and Musalia Mudavadi tried in vain to bring order. Peter Mungangi now reports.
Trouble started when Joho's supporters attempted to block Hassan Omar and his running mate Linda Shuma from accessing the dais at Mamangina Drive, where other leaders had already taken their positions. Omar finally pushed his way to the podium with the help of his supporters. By this time, his shirt was missing some buttons. The sibling rivalry continued on stage, with supporters of Kisauni parliamentary candidates Rashid Bedzimba of ODM and Ali Mbogo of Wiper clashing. A standoff that went on for well over 40 minutes. Joho and Omar had not shared such a platform together for months, each one vigorously campaigning against the other in different rallies. Police as well as NASA co-principals Kalonzo Musyoka, Musalia Mudavadi and Raila Odinga intervened to calm the situation.
Hawa naomba wanapimana nguvu, wakimaliza tuendelee na mkutano. Hiyo mambo ni mambo ya debe. Jumanne wiki ijayo mtaweza kupiga kura kwa Hassan Joho au Sarai. Hata ninyi ambao mnapiga kelele hamujapata ajira, pia ninyi nitawapa ajira. Mukate mashati, murushe mtanga, mupige kelele, mfanye lolote. Mombasa imeamua. Kuna tofauti katika siasa ya kujituma na siasa ya kutumwa. Kuna tofauti ya siasa ya kuwa na msimamo na kuamini njia ambayo itaboresha maisha ya watu wako na kutumikia watu wengine wanaokutuma usiku.
That aside, the leaders urge voters in the region not to let them down on Tuesday next week.
kuna eneo mbili katika Kenya hii. Wakipiga 99%, mambo yamekwisha. Eneo moja ni ya Pwani. Eneo ya pili wakitoka na hiyo 99-85% ni ya Magharibi.
Coming a day after Jubilee Party leaders campaigned in Mombasa, they sought to water down any gains made by that visit.
Tena yeye anawasha kampuni ya Kenya hapa ya kujenga feri. Anakwenda Uturuki. Kuleta Uturuki atapewa tena ya kujenga feri. Shame on him. Shame on him.
The leaders also dismissed President Uhuru Kenyatta's remarks that his administration has so far issued 300,000 title deeds to residents here in the Coast region. They say that has not resolved the land problem. Peter Mongangi, NTV, Adima Mangina Drive, Mombasa.
All right, Mombasa County has approximately 1.2 million people, and among those 1.2 million people, only 596,400 people have been registered as voters, and these are the ones who are going to be participating in the vote come Tuesday next week. And of course, we'll be telling you more as we are here to tell you what happens during the elections, during and after the elections. And as NASA was having their second last campaigns here in Mombasa, Jubilee was having their second last campaign in Nairobi, and this is what happened earlier.
A well-attended political rally in the capital, Uhuru Park, was the venue of the Jubilee campaigns. 3 days to the polls. President Uhuru Kenyatta led his campaign team to ask for another 5 years. Here too, like many of his stops, he made his case before the multitude.
Na ndipo sisi tunaheshimu hata wale tunashindana na wao. Sisi tunawaambia ya kwamba sisi hatuna masaa ya kuwatusi. Sisi haja yetu sio matusi, ni kazi. Tunaelewana? Na ndipo hata wakitutukana, mimi nawaambianga kila siku, jameni, tulizeni boli. Matusi haitatukosesha usingizi. Sisi wacha tufanye kazi. Kenya isonge mbele.
He was flanked by a number of candidates in the Jubilee Party, including his deputy William Ruto, who took their opponents to task over their record in leadership.
Najua wale tunashindana na wao kwa sababu hawana sera, hawana plan, hawana mpango, hawana agenda. Wametengeneza mtego ati ya kutega watu ati wanaswe ati tarehe 8 mwezi wa 8. Tunawaambia kuna upungufu mkubwa wa watu wajinga Kenya wanaweza kunaswa na mtego wa panya, jameni.
The decision by the Jubilee Party to hold one of its final political rallies right here in Nairobi is very deliberate. This is because two of the most recent opinion polls give this county to their opponents. They urged their supporters to ignore the opponents and vote for them. Jubilee is also concerned with the fact that many residents of the county have begun to live in fear of the aftermath. President Kenyatta assured the city dwellers that all will be well.
Mtu asiogope. Mtu asiseme ati mimi natoroka ati nienda kwetu nyumbani. Huna nyumbani ingine isipokuwa Nairobi hii. Na serikali itatoa ulinzi wa kutosha wa kuhakikisha kila Mkenya amelindwa, apige kura na hakuna mtu atasumbua mwenzake.
This opportunity was also used by other county hopefuls to ask for votes.
Tofauti yangu na gavana anaenda nyumbani, rafiki yangu. Mimi pesa yenu 45 billion kwa mwaka na ile tunachukua kama revenue ama kama tax nitaileta mashinani Nairobi, tupange maendeleo na nyinyi wananchi wa Nairobi.
This was the final stop for the president and his team, having begun the day in Kiambu County, where both the incumbent, William Kabogo, now an independent candidate, and his opponent, Ferdinand Waititu, made their cases. The Jubilee team was also in Suswa. On Saturday, the Jubilee team will hold several rallies before concluding their campaigns at the Afraha Stadium in Nakuru County. Ken Mijungu, NTV.
All right, come 8th of August, that is Tuesday next week, Mombasa County residents will join other people in the country to make their decision 2017. And of course, we'll be giving you updates from this part of the country as to what happens as far as voting and election in general is concerned. For now, I hand you over to Bridget Ngana in Nakuru. Bridget.
There in Mombasa, we are at the heart of the Rift Valley here in Nakuru County, and it has been quite a busy day for the president, him traversing 4 counties from Kiambu, Nairobi, Narok, and Kericho. And we are just back from Suswa, and this is what the president told the Ma community while he was there.
After being installed, Ama elder President Uhuru Kenyatta was quick to rubbish the gains made by the opposition to the Ma community to back them up at the general election. Uhuru describing Raila Odinga as a leader who thrives in discord.
Mimi naambia mtu ya kitendawili, you cannot make progress from inciting people. You make progress by sitting, discussing and resolving problems if you want to be a leader in this country.
Both Uhuru and Ruto urging the Ma that their support for the government will be rewarded further through more development projects.
Tunatekeleza vile kwa wafugaji wetu. Tutaweza kuwapatia free boarding pia ndio watoto wote wa Kenya waweze kusoma sawa.
Sasa huyu mtu ya kitendawili anazunguka hapa, barabara gani amejenga? Hospitali gani amejenga? Maji gani ameleta? Kina mama hapa wanajifungua bure na serikali ya Jubilee, ni kweli si kweli?
Tanzania's opposition leader, Edward Lowassa, who is also a Ma leader, praising the Jubilee government as being proponents of the East African community and cohesion.
Alirithi nchi iliyotoka kwenye vita, ambako naomba msururi kwenye vita. Ameiongoza, imekwenda taratibu, mfanikiwa, anaomba mwaka mwingine. Mtamnyima.
With just a few hours left until the official campaigns come to an end, President Uhuru Kenyatta leaves Narok County confident that the Ma community will back him in his bid to get back to State House at the Tuesday general elections. Bridget Ngana, NTV, Narok County. Well, that's just a snippet of what the president's activities were here in Narok County. We are expecting him tomorrow here in Nakuru County, where it is going to be the final leg of the Jubilee campaigns. He will be the company of the deputy president, and it is where everything else for the Jubilee Party, even back in 2013, where it all started. So they are bringing it back home, and in a sense, they're bringing it back to Nakuru County. Earlier on, we had been speaking with some of the residents in Nakuru County, and we are here on set with one of the residents from Nakuru County. He would like to just assess of their preparedness in terms of how they are. What is the expectations of Nakuru residents with just 3 days to the polls? Thank you so much, Sam, for joining us on set. Just tell us who you are and where you come from here in Nakuru County.
Thank you very much, Bridget. My name is Sam Achiro, resident of Nakuru, particularly Visoi Ward. The president has actually chosen Nakuru to come here and pitch his last message tomorrow. I think that's quite good of him. But as a youthful leader, I expect him not just to ask for votes, but also to push for the youthful agenda. And I think because we make the big chunk of the voters in these particular elections. And I think by him coming, will touch our hearts if we will actually pitch and push for the youth agenda.
Maybe you're in a county where it has been highlighted as a hotspot for elections, and you know the youth are the ones who maybe engage in acts of violence. What is your message to the youth of not just Nakuru, but the whole country as you go to the polls on Tuesday?
Well, to my fellow youth, not just here in Nakuru County, but actually in the entire nation, is to exercise and maintain peace during and even after the elections, because it's not all about elections. It's about us as the people of Kenya and the agenda we want to drive after the elections. So it should not only be about the elections, but the agendas that we want to drive after the general election. So I would ask them to maintain peace and order, and whoever wins, that will be our leaders.
Thank you very much, Sam. That was Sam Achiro, just a representation of the expectations of people here in Nakuru that the president is coming. He is expected to also touch on the issues of dealing with the youth. And so as we expect the president, we are also expecting him to also highlight or take the give his last message to the electorate on what his plans are for the country in his second term. So I now take you to Kisumu County, or where Oko Kusa is on standby.
Thank you, Bridget Ngano will be joining Oko Kusa in a bit as soon as that signal is up. And we're taking a break here on Decision 2017. We'll be back with the expectations of those who are waiting with Gladys Gashanja, and also a panel here on security that is with Dabal Ainer. Plenty to look forward to.
That's right. Stay with us.
terms of agriculture, that is food security. That is a critical issue that is supposed to be addressed. The other thing is primary health care. The other thing is about the sanitation of the city. And these are some of the things that we do hope. We've seen quite a number of manifestos that are being done here and there. And we do hope that these are some of the things that are very pertinent and very to the people of Kisumu. Then there is also the issue of insecurity. And we are aware that there are quite a number of young people here and there who are not really getting something to do. And because of this has really created a lot.
Okay, so that we give everybody else a chance to speak, I'm going to move this along really fast. What are the main issues facing Kisumu according to you, and are they being addressed by the politicians?
My name is Moses Odua. I'm the chairman of Kisumu Arts and Culture Guild. As an art practitioner, I feel a lot needs to be done, both by the national government and the devolved units, to make art an industry that can pay. We hope the incoming governments, both at the national and at the county levels, will pay attention to this industry that has the potential of being a multi-billion shilling industry, considering we have the talent already. They all need to develop the software.
All right. Thank you. I'll move this along really fast. Let's start with your name, sir.
My name is Collins Kodek. I'm a human rights activist.
Are the issues in Kisumu being addressed so far by the politicians? You've heard what they've said, their manifestos and everything. Are the issues facing Kisumu being addressed today?
The NASA Coalition provides the best framework to address issues affecting Kisumu, notably corruption and clanism. These are things that we must go past in this election.
Yes. Are you looking forward to voting on August 8th?
Yes, I'm looking forward to voting, plus my family and all my friends will be up very early in the morning to ensure that everybody puts his vote.
Okay. Let me move this along really fast. Let's start with your name, gentleman.
Yes, my name is called Caleb Ogomoko.
What is your message to the youth like yourself? Because we've heard that this area is a hot spot. What would you say about that?
Yes, I'm happy. We remained only with 48 hours to vote. Yes. So I'm requesting all youth to come out to vote for this election on 8th on Tuesday. Thank you very much.
All right. Let's start with the name, madam. What's your name?
My name is Mariam Abdallah. Okay. I'm a resident of Kisumu County.
Are the issues in Kisumu being addressed?
Yes, they are being addressed. And I believe if we work together as residents of Kisumu, then we'll be able to even make it better.
All right. Sir, let's start with your name. Really fast.
Wilson Obanda, yes. I really believe that the issues are being addressed. Leaders have come campaigning with very flowery manifestos, and what we are left to see is whether they'll be implemented. Otherwise, about this issue of Kisumu being a hotspot, I think that is hot air. It's neither here nor there. It is, they would want to brand this part of the region as a volatile area. As you can see, Kisumu people are very peaceful. Here we are only waiting for elections. And we are keen on electing leaders who will push us forward.
All right. Thank you so much. Those are sentiments from all the Kisumu residents, just a section of them. We'll be speaking to so many of them later on in the bulletin. Remember, this area right now, according to the IBC figures in the 2017 registered voters, are 539,000 compared to 2013, where there were only 386,000. This is one region where NASA is hoping it will bag most of the votes to catapult them to the win. But right now, I take you straight to Dibala in air. Dibala?
Many thanks indeed, Trevor Mbija from Kisumu there. And of course, here in the studio, we have a panelist to talk about security matters as we're heading towards the general election. It's only 3 days to go. And I'm holding court this evening with the spokesperson of the National Police Service. This is Charles Owino. Also, we do have with us Captain Simiu Wirunga, who is the CEO of African Center for Security and Strategic Studies. Also, we have with us Captain Wanderi, who is an advocate of the High Court, and also he is a security analyst. Also, Professor Noami Damba. Noami Damba is an expert on defense and foreign policy, and also the Vice Chancellor of KCA University. Let's begin with you, Charles. First of all, there is a latent concern from the religious leaders. They're saying there is a scheme by the politicians who are organizing gangs in the country to try and, sort of make the elections not go smoothly right now. And they're engaging in premeditated political violence. Are you privy to this information?
First of all, let me correct you. I'm not the National Police Service spokesperson. Mm-hmm. The National Police Service spokesperson is George Kinoti.
Thank you for that correction.
I stand in for him.
All right, thank you.
But I'm staff officer in charge of PR in Kenya Police Service.
All right.
Thank you so much. I think you've just raised an issue that the church leaders, some of them, are of the opinion that some politicians are hell-bent to cause chaos in certain parts of the country. I don't think I'm privy to that, but what we know, you remember that we had come up with hotspots that many people were not comfortable with, saying that these areas are hotspots. I've just seen Kisumu, somebody saying this is not a hotspot. It's because people don't understand the meaning of getting a place as an hotspot area. It depends on the activities of that particular place. Every area has strange activities. For example, you find that a place like Kwale, we have certain gangs like the MRC in Kilifi and in Mombasa. That does not necessarily make it a hotspot because they are gangs, but it depends on what an individual politician may want to do with that particular gang. Now, it's a time for competition. You go to, like, for example, the position of governorship is a very highly competitive position in counties. And because of that, you may find probably a particular politician may decide to use a gang negatively. But what I can say is that as a service, we are prepared for any eventuality. In event that there are people who have prepared gangs or other people to interrupt the rest, then we are prepared.
But are you privy to this intelligence which has been raised by the religious leaders?
I don't want to put it in that manner, because it would be interesting that you are privy to that kind of information and nobody has been arrested. That would not be real. What we can say is we have capacity to be able to get a lot of information and anticipate that anything can happen. I've just told you that we have gangs and they can be misused by political leaders. But we are quite prepared that in event that such like incidences occur, then we should be able to manage them.
Right, and we're seeing also great migration of, I should say, the voters to other parts of the country right now, because people are saying this is all about security reasons, and people are saying also maybe they're going because this is where they're registered as voters. What is your position on this as well?
I think during the registration of voters, you found that there was a lot of transfer of votes from one constituency to another, and people also moving to other places. For example, the constituency where I live, in the rural home, live about the constituency here, I know very many friends who are going home to try and maybe vote in their sitting MP for one reason or another. So you find a number of people are moving in to vote in the people they like. For example, you come from, let's say, Vihiga, and maybe from your village, you feel that your MP for the local area has done so well, and you have a feeling that you need to support him. People move to support. But I've not seen any case, because I've seen you also interviewing many people at the bus stations.
Right.
I've not seen anyone coming up to say that maybe he feels threatened.
Of course, you don't expect them to say that on camera, do you? Right? All right.
Yeah, they would.
Let's get to your reaction also, Professor Namitama.
Deborah, let me take it to a fundamental, and that is the right to vote is a privilege and the highest honor for any citizen in Kenya to practice. That is what our constitution has given us as a fundamental. Not to vote will deny us the opportunity to create a democratic society and the harmony of our society to evolve and develop. Citizens have the right to be worried, okay, because of the past practices. They are remembering 1992. They're remembering 2007. I have faculty and staff who are worried, you know, and I have to take people in the boardroom, reassure them everything is going to be fine. I have students who are worried, who say we need to travel because I don't know if they will allow me to travel. But the point what Charles Owino is talking about here is every Kenyan collectively together can make all of us and create the sense of peace that we need. You know, the people hiring grunts and all those kind of things, they're not working at the best interest of our people. So people really need to play their role actively to make this country peaceful.
Right. Dr. Werunga, this particular intelligence that has been given by the Dialogue Reference Group, the religious leaders, of course, is it's a niggling worry, because down on the ground as well, from the information that we have, especially from the slums, we have certain ethnic groups that are being told, you should be vacating, or they're just doing it voluntarily. I don't know if you're privy to this, or maybe you've had something from the ground. I know you're always keeping out your ears for this as well.
My stand is different, and I think I've mentioned this. In this country, we have too many busybodies on matters of security. And I'm not saying our religious leaders are busybodies. I think during these times, every group will come up and talk about insecurity, fear. And yet we have a police service that I believe is ready and prepared to take charge of this. This issue of every organization coming up and talking about insecurity, about peace, with the reasons and no factors and fundamentals being shared with us to understand why they think Kenyans are fearful, I think plays very badly for this country. And therefore my stand has always been, this many busybodies, and I'll use that word because busybodies in the security sector, I think if they have issues that they think impacts negatively on the people of this country, we have a police service. And being religious leaders, they should have gone and shared with the police service before they come to the media to say what they are saying. Because what are they doing? They are playing into the hands of those who are actually planning bad things, and yet this is something they should not be telling us on the media. They should share with the police. Because one, as religious leaders, they have a captive audience. When they go to church, there's an audience that is ready for them. They can actually be explaining to them what they think need not to be done. Number two, they have a civic duty as religious leaders, and I'm using the word leaders. They have a civic duty to share what they believe is not right with people who are mandated under the law to secure this country. So personally, I don't believe in everybody waking up every morning and telling Kenyans that we are insecure, we are not safe, people are traveling. We have them. Whether we like them or not, the Constitution created them. The Constitution gave them the mandate to secure us. If we feel they are not doing their work well, we have a responsibility through the court processes to deal with them.
Right, let's hear from Captain Collins Wanderi. First of all, this intelligence, we should be worried, as they are saying, maybe they're actually just talking, without facts. But truly, we don't have religious leaders just coming to the fore and holding a press conference if they don't have concrete information. Right? We don't know what is happening also with intelligence, because we've heard from the spokesperson, our Charles Owino, saying that they are not privy to this intelligence at all.
I think, Tibal, one of the things that we have to do as a people and as a country is to really look at ourselves and ask ourselves this one question. What purpose does an alarmist statement that you have intelligence that so and so will do this? When you say something is called intelligence, it's information that has been collected, collated, analyzed, and actually tested to the point that this is credible in terms of credibility. Now, if, as Captain Werunga is saying, you have information and you have all manner of raw data, okay. And today I did meet somebody who said, I know you doing security analysis. Are you talking to Ajiko on the ground about security? And that jolted me, and the person said, everybody's fleeing. Everybody in my plot has left. And so I made a point of just doing, basically physically. I went to the Kenya Railways and I asked people, near chemists, why are you guys traveling to Eldoret? And one person told me, my vote is in Eldoret. My vote is in Busia. My vote is in Malamba. So they are traveling to vote. So you see, you can receive bits and bits of information from sections of Nairobi residents, telling you that I am moving, and then you create a hype that people are moving because of insecurity. I have seen the Inspector General assure members of the public that he has enough forces and enough men and women on the ground to protect the citizens. And it's also wrong to keep hyping that people are moving because of insecurity when people clearly tell you that they are moving because they want to go and vote. Now today, I had also a check of my own professional colleagues, and I asked them, are you going to be in Nairobi? I know they are Nairobi residents. I know they voted here in 2013. But one of them clearly told me, I am moving to Kisii because my brother is vying as an MCA. Another one told me, I am moving to Tarbo in Eldoret because the person who is vying for MCA is my relative. The person who is vying for MP is also a person known to me. So I said, well, you see, we can receive these bits and bits of information, but until religious leaders can provide information that is systematically collated, analyzed, and then tested, subjected to the test of credibility, that this is then useful for purposes of, because you're going to use that intelligence to deploy. And if you listen to Mr. Owino here, he said they've been analyzing. That's why they know what area to name as hotspot.
Thank you.
So I don't think religious leaders, I think they should measure their words.
All right, first of all, okay, we need to also drill deeper with the conversation. Looking at the security preparations and what is happening right now, of course, the biggest also story is about Chris Musando as well. And Moses Kuria has been adversely mentioned in this particular saga as well. We're wondering, has he recorded a statement with the police? Because we've not heard anything about this particular scenario as well.
Mentioned by who?
It is in the public domain.
Because you don't expect me to talk like a layman. I must talk professionally. I know there is an alleged posting by Moses Kuria on Facebook on the morning that the vehicle was gotten.
We've got pictures of him on newspapers pointing at the car.
And yes, but those pictures are gotten from Facebook. What we need to do as police is to establish whether those Facebook cuttings are actually real or just created, because we have many Facebook accounts that have just been constructed. So I cannot rely on that. Number two, the issue of Chris Musando is a very sensitive issue, given the position that he was holding. And I would be very grateful, I'm quite grateful to Kenyans in the manner that they have reacted to the unfortunate death of Chris Musando. Because contrary to the usual behavior of Kenyans, we would have seen demonstrations. But Kenyans have given us opportunity to concentrate on the coming elections.
So I'm sorry.
Just a minute.
Just
a minute. This is a very sensitive issue, especially on the police and the nation. So let me finish, because Kenyans would like to hear what the police spokesperson is saying about this matter. What I'm saying is that we are grateful to Kenyans for the manner in which they have handled themselves and the trust they have given us to investigate the matter and give them a result. We are avoiding speculations, and that is why you find that even for the few stages that we've gone through, we have not given out information.
All right, so I just
because there is a danger of giving out information, because it can be, you'll find somebody can be able to run out of the evidence that we have in event that we give them correct information or exact information on how far we've gone. So I think we are doing so well as far as investigations are concerned, and I think very soon the DCI will be able to give
investigations before he records a statement.
You are taking me back to Moses Kuria, and
yes,
I answered you.
Because we just wanted to know.
Why are you forcing me to tell you that he has recorded a statement? And I've told you I'm not giving you any evidence on what we are doing. Why are you forcing me? Do you have a personal problem with him?
No, we don't have a personal. We just need to.
Do you want to incite? Do you want to incite the public against him? If there is anything that he's supposed to do, he must do it. If he's to record a statement, according to the investigators, he could have recorded. But I've told you, we are not giving any information.
So I'm just wondering, is it out of his own volition that he should come and record a statement, or it is the honors of the police to ask him to record a statement?
Excuse me, Diban. I've told you two things, and you have refused to listen because you have a formed mind. I've told you that it is our duty to confirm whether that Facebook account was actually genuine or not. If the investigators find that it was genuine, definitely he has to record a statement.
All right.
I have personally recorded a statement.
All right, thank you. We need to take a short break
because
right
he reported to me that his life was threatened, and I referred him. I've personally recorded a statement. Why are you not asking me if I have not recorded a statement?
Right, thank you. We take a short break right now. When we come back, of course, we continue with this conversation with our power panel here on Decision 2017. back. You're watching Decision 2017, and conversation continues apace here with our security analyst here, talking about security and election, of course, and drilling deeper on the demise of Chris Musando, the former ICT expert in IBC. And I want just to also throw this particular question to you, first of all. Do you agree and hold with the position that is being espoused here by Charles Owino, that they have to do the investigation first, then this person will come and record a statement, or maybe he's not revealing that particular information? Just a moment.
No. You know, I can be very bad when you want to mislead the nation. I did not say that we have to record statements first before Moses Kuria records his statement. Remember, I'm a CID officer. Don't look at my uniform. That is my background for many years. I've said very clearly that when you are relying on the Facebook account, on what was released on the day that the vehicle was found, then the investigators must first of all establish whether that Facebook account is genuine or not genuine.
Thank you.
After they have done that, they would, if it is genuine, then definitely he has to record a statement.
Right.
But I've also just a minute. I've also told you that given the sensitivity of the matter, we agreed that information should be collected, should be followed before we give out everything to the public. Chris has died.
Right, thank you.
And what is most important,
I'll give an opportunity.
excuse me.
No, I'll give an opportunity to continue. Yes,
no.
But we want
excuse
to get the
me.
reaction of
Let me tell you, he may react as an activist. He's no longer a military officer. I hold the interest of this nation, especially on security.
Thank you.
For your information,
yes,
I am a close friend to Chris Musando. He comes from my village. Apart from being a Kenyan and a national a police officer and a spokesperson for a police officer, I have a responsibility, and it touches me more than you.
Thank you. Let's hear from Dr. Werunga. Your reaction on this as well.
I want to tell Charles, and we've been friends for a long time, I take offense for you to call me an activist.
No, I've said you can answer. No, it's good to listen.
Right.
You may answer like an activist. I didn't call you an activist. I believe your language is perfect.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Let's go full speed with the discussion, please.
Thank you. Okay. Charles has a responsibility to speak on behalf of the police. But I also want to look at this issue, and we've had this discussion. I know the context in which this death took place might be very sensitive to the nation. But I also understand that the context in which this thing happened, the high-octane politics, my thinking will be different from his. That probably, even if you don't want to share much with the public, but I think the anxiety and the rumor mongering and whatever is being done in this country through even the social media, probably you'll play a better role when from time to time you just share with Kenyans that the investigations have reached this point. We shall share with you when we get more information. To me, that will play in pulling down the anxiety, stopping rumor mongering, and therefore we are not demanding that you tell us what you are doing. But I think for the good of this country, the high-octane politics that we have now, it will have been wiser to my thinking that it will not be anything wrong for you to be giving Kenyans snippets from time to time just to cool the temperatures, to make people know that you're on top of this case, and therefore as we move towards the elections, Kenyans know our police service is on this case. That is my view.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And of course, Captain Collins Wanderi, first of all, the lack of information is giving, a spawning ground for all the speculation that is going about, because we don't have, as it says, good information that is being given to the public. And of course, as citizens, we have a right to speculate, right? We want to know what really happened. They've been saying, no, let's not give room for speculation. But in the void of concrete information, how then do we react?
Dibal, the citizens have a right to information. That's true, and it is important to give information when it is necessary to cool tempers and at the same time reduce anxiety. Let me say this. Chris Musando's sister is a close friend of mine, somebody I have known for many years. And I said condolences to the family. And so even when I speak, I'm speaking on I may not be as close to him like Mr. Owino, but this is a person whose sister is a person I almost talk with, if not daily, on a weekly basis. And I know what the family is going through. But as it may, there is something we must not lose sight. An investigator goes where the evidence leads them. That's the very basis of the process of investigation. There is something that Mr. Owino has said which seems to have escaped, and we must stress this to the viewers, that the last statement they released, they said they have interrogated 6 people and they're still looking for more people of interest. Now, Dibal, in investigations, it is wrong to give the people you would wish to talk to prior information and notice that you may want to talk to them, especially in a homicide case, in a murder case. And this is a double murder. Remember, we are talking of the death of 2 people.
Yes.
We have the Mr. Musando himself, the late Musando, and the late Karo Wairimu Gumbu. So these are 2 families, and you have to deal with the anxiety. So it's a tough balancing act for the police. Whereas at the same time, they may want to give information to reduce the anxiety around the nation and to cool the political temperatures. They are also in a tight situation where Mr. Owino used the word where you make suspects have anticipatory, or you give anticipatory information which makes them even flee, because that is what would happen. If somebody knows they've been mentioned and they are likely to be part of the suspect, then they will most likely take off. And this is not a good thing, because we must give them, I want once at least say that let us trust our National Police Service. And if, and they said that if they get to a point, and I would advise them to, if they get to a point where they feel they may need the assistance of another agency, local or foreign, so be it, let them get it. But let the information they give be so guarded so that we do not give suspects or possible suspects reason to flee before they get hold of them. It would be wrong.
Thank you. All right, let's hear from Professor Naomi Damba.
Dubai shared the sentiment of Captain Wanderi and Captain Werunga. And Charles, what happened is people look back, at the history and the track record. And they say, well, so-and-so disappeared, there were no answers. So-and-so disappeared, there were no answers. And then they form an opinion and rumors, and there are so many busybodies in Kenya, incredible rumors. I think the Kenyan people have really restrained themselves since this situation come. I have not seen outpouring of people on the street, calling for this and that. So that is a very important thing. My urging to the great work you are doing and your colleagues is use every asset that you can to uncover this situation, close the chapter, get it open to the Kenyan people know, such that going back to what Captain Wanderi said, use every asset, including local and foreign, to demonstrate to Kenya, yes, we can do it. And nobody has the right to take on the life of another Kenyan, like this case.
In the lack of information is what also we're experiencing with KDF right now, especially with the Cabinet Secretary and the Ministry of Defense, and what was happening with also the military spokesperson, Mr. Worth, first of all. We want to know how is Operation Dumisha Utulivu working? And of course, this is a multi-sectoral agency coming together so far. And maybe you can bring us up to speed and tell us, yes, the involvement of KDF has also been a ticklish issue in the public domain. Of course, this is also enshrined in the Constitution, as we're given to understand, and we'll be looking at it so far. But you can tell us, give us a clear picture today, because we understand also some officers are being deployed. Also the IPOA, I think also they are deploying some of the monitors in some of the counties, or all the 47 countries in the country.
Yeah, thanks. I would not want to comment on the so-called Operation Tuliza.
Yes.
Because I remember KDF stated categorically that it never existed. But what I can tell you is that for some times now, we have had multi-agency training between us.
What never existed? The operation to
I think that is what I saw. I don't speak for KDF, but that's what I saw from the Cabinet Secretary. What I can say,
is the police part of this particular multi-agency operation?
We have a number of multi-agency trainings that we've done together with the KDF, and maybe from the KDF Act, you will find that there are situations when KDF officers may even help the police when there is a restoration of peace, or when there's emergency, or when there's disaster. It's provided for, and there are regulations for that. But equally, if you go to the KDF Act, Section 35(9), it tells you that members of KDF forces deployed as per the subsection 1 shall receive appropriate training prior to any deployment. Now, you don't receive training on the day there is need for deployment. It is clear in law that KDF can support the nation when there's an emergency or when there is disaster. That is found under Article 241 3B of the Constitution. But in that case, they say when you deploy the KDF for emergency or disaster, then you only report to the National Assembly whenever they are deployed. But 3C says that when you deploy them to restore peace in any part of the country by unrest or instability, then you need approval of the National Assembly. But the challenge is that much of what we may see are cases of emergency. For example, if we want to distribute food, if there is need to distribute food, yes, or we want to carry out evacuations and such like things, you may need not to go and look for authority from anyone to go and drop food and so on. For example, today, if we can have a disaster for any reason, either it is a pre-election, a post-election disaster, or any other disaster along the beaches, we would definitely have to call in Navy to pick tourists maybe at the beaches and then bring them to, with the boats, bring them to Kilindini. We may not go to Parliament to do that. Because this is an emergency and it requires support. If today, for example, there is flooding, there's a situation where we have to use aircrafts, maybe even to support in dropping ballot papers or even picking.
Thank you.
We may not need to go to Parliament. So there are a number of assistance that KDF can give or support the service that is not necessary. But I think what brings problems is when people try to imagine that KDF would be deployed maybe to cause disruptions. I don't think our country is at a level that we can do that. But we can deploy them in terms of emergency or disaster or to support the police in accordance to the law.
Right, but of course, if we hark back also to what happened in 2007, 2008, and this was also in the Waki Commission, the report itself.
Yes.
Similar claims were made in relations to the 2007 elections. That we had the police, especially in Tambach incident, in which the police leadership masterminded the distribution of hateful leaflets against Raila Odinga, the main challenger to President Mwai Kibaki. I don't know if you can react to this very briefly before we hand over also to my colleague Larry Mado, who's standing by.
Yeah, I think, yes, the law is very clear, but I think the kind of emergency that the law talks about is not necessarily the kind of emergency Mr. Owino is talking about. I took my time to go through the Constitution, and I think the emergency that they talk about is under 58. The lawyer, can you...
58 of the Act?
Of the Constitution.
Of the Constitution.
Yes, and it says...
This is
when the President declares an emergency...
Excuse me. When you want to read it...
Yes.
Just a minute. Let me correct him. Let me correct him. When you are talking about deployment of military, you restrict yourself to 241 of the Constitution and section, I think, 31 to 35 of the KDF Act. When you want to refer to any other portion, it must be as read.
Thank you. Fair enough.
So let me now finish what I was saying. It says very clearly, KDF can be deployed under 3 circumstances: emergencies, disasters, and restoration of peace.
Yes.
Those are 3 different categories where you can deploy the Kenya Defense Forces. Now, I want to imagine that if the President deploys, or the National Security Council, through the approval of the National Assembly, is deploying the defense forces in terms of emergencies, I want to imagine. And I
also want to correct you.
Let him finish.
Let him not finish. Let him not finish. Let me help him. Let me help him. What I'm saying is, you don't need the National Assembly to approve.
All right.
Excuse me.
No. I'm under pressure also to actually finish this conversation.
Let me help him before he spoils everything.
We need to observe some.
Let me just help him.
No, I won't allow you. Let him finish.
All right.
Just finish.
My understanding is that a state of emergency, Part 4, state of emergency, 58 of the Constitution, may be declared only under Article 132(4)(d), and only when A, the state is threatened by war, invasion, general insurrection, disorder, natural disaster, or other public emergency, and the declaration is necessary to meet the circumstances for which the emergency is declared. That is the law. Now,
no, why don't you let me correct that?
Let him finish.
No,
Just about one
no,
up. Let him
excuse
finish.
me. Why don't we correct that before he finishes?
Let him finish.
No, no,
give
no.
a point to
Excuse me.
No.
It's not fair for him to mislead the nation. He's talking about state of emergency. Article 241(b), excuse me, where we have the defense forces, is not talking about state of emergency. It is talking about in situations of emergency or disaster. These are two different things. My brother, can you help me?
All right. Before you help him,
can I finish?
So that you don't mislead the nation.
Can I finish?
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
See,
just a moment.
All
right.
If we move it further, I think we shall lose track.
All right. My colleague Larry Mado is standing by. We'll come to you on the other side of also the break as well. Let's hear from Larry Mado as well. Larry?
All right. Many thanks, Debral. What a fascinating conversation. Most fascinating hearing from the security and military experts. I want to give some regional perspectives right now, because this election is not just a Nairobi situation. This election is going to be a national one, and votes in many different parts of the country will determine who wins this election. Let me bring out my panel right now. We've got Abubakar Yusuf in Mombasa County at NTV.
And situation of emergency are two different things.
Lukoye Atwoli at NTV Mombasa. Gentlemen, thank you so much for staying with us this late in the evening. We have plenty to discuss. Let me start with you, Dr. Atwoli. The North Rift is assumed to be a Jubilee stronghold, but NASA has been making a lot of work there. They even endorsed Governor Mandago. How is the North Rift going to vote in this election? If you can look into your crystal ball for us.
Yeah, well, looking into the crystal ball, it's not at this point possible to say clearly who between Governor Mandago and Buzeki is going to win. At the moment, I think it will look to me that Governor Mandago has an upper hand, because he's been there, he's incumbent, and he has support, especially in the rural areas of Uasin Gishu. However, Buzeki is a new quantity that is going to be a bit difficult for people to forecast how he's going to perform. And within the urban areas, especially in town, it has looked like he really has pretty strong support. However, I think if you look at the politics of the North Rift, it's not the same as what we had in the previous elections. The incumbent, who is the Jubilee Party candidate, has received support from NASA. The independent candidate is claimed to have support from the Jubilee Party. So it's very confusing if you look at it, and therefore it's very difficult for one to make an outright prediction and say so-and-so is going to win this outright.
Okay. Let's leave it there for the moment. I'm coming back to you, but in Mombasa, we saw a most fascinating thing happen today when Raila Odinga in his one of his last rallies at Mamangino Drive brought up Governor Hassan Joho and Senator Hassan Omar and tried to make peace between them, and that didn't work out, Yusuf. Well, what exactly is going to pan out here? Because there seems to be some serious bad blood between Governor Joho and Senator Omar. I wonder if Yusuf heard me. I'm going to try and ask that question one more time.
Yeah.
All right, I think Yusuf has trouble hearing me. I'll jump back. Yeah, Yusuf certainly has trouble hearing me. I'll go to Tomboya and Kisumu for the moment. The big one in Kisumu County is definitely between the governor of Kisumu and the governor candidate, Senator Anyang' Nyong'o. How is this going to play out, and will that affect how the votes of Raila Odinga in Kisumu and the Nyanza region? Tom?
Yes, Larry, thanks. The politics in this region is very interesting. One, there's so many factors that have come into play to define or to underpin the voting pattern that is expected on Tuesday, 8th.
Right.
One, you know, the incumbent is an independent candidate versus NASA's candidate in the name of Professor Anyang' Nyong'o. And the factors that is going to define the 8th elections as far as the candidates of the governorship are concerned are the following. One, the credibility of the elections. And this must be traced back to the clarion call for the reforms of the IBC, which saw a number of demonstrations in the Kisumu city, which of course ultimately led to the death of innocent lives. And since that, Larry, the citizens of Kisumu country have been looking forward to credible elections. And if you look at all these calls, Larry, they look upon what the NASA's presidential candidate has been saying. And NASA's presidential candidate vis-a-vis the NASA's governor candidate, which is in this case Professor Anyang' Nyong'o, has a better edge over the incumbent of Jack Ranguma.
All right, we'll wait to see how that turns out on Tuesday. It's going to be very interesting. Yes, Tom. I want to go back to Yusuf now in Mombasa and talk about again that other governor contest between Governor Hassan Joho and Senator Hassan Omar. Even Raila Odinga could not get the two of them to agree today. What did you make of that?
Larry, you asking me or?
Yes, I'm asking Yusuf. I'm asking Yusuf Abubakar in Mombasa.
Oh, Yusuf.
Yes, Larry.
Even the NASA presidential candidate Raila Odinga could not get Hassan Omar and Hassan Joho in Mombasa. Will that affect his vote in the coast? All right, we have so much trouble with that hearing out of Mombasa. I apologize for that. But I feel like Tomboy wanted to respond to that because that is within the NASA fold, and that I'm sure a lot of people in Kisumu and in the Nyanza region are interested in what's happening in Mombasa because Joho is seen as a potential future leader for NASA. Tom, jump in.
Yes, Larry, Mombasa, just like other NASA strongholds, resonates the same, whether Kisumu, Turkana, Mombasa, Nairobi, and so forth. And what we witnessed in Mombasa, to me, I was not surprised. One, it has been a contest between Joho and Omar. And if you look at the body language, spiritually or otherwise, between Kalonzo Musyoka and Raila Odinga, of course, both of them agree to the fact that it is a contest between the two titans. And therefore, it's a question of who really has marshaled enough supporters. And in this case, I don't want to speak to the people of Mombasa, but then it is a wait and see because it's just 2-3 days to the election day, and I want to believe that the decision that will determine the ultimate outcome of the gubernatorial race between Omar and Joho will be served by the electorate. I think it is just a question just like you can see at the presidential level between Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga.
All right. But these are not unique to NASA, though. These kind of contests between governors who are in the party are not unique to NASA. We saw today, Dr. Atwoli, Governor in Kiambu, Governor Kafogo was in the same stand. And I think today, at least, there was no Ferdinand Wetitu in that stand. They were standing right next to Deputy President William Ruto, and they appear to be having a good time, despite the history that's between them. There's similar contest in many other places. For both parties, Jubilee and NASA, this is serious. I wonder how to deal with it, because somebody will be a winner, somebody will be a loser on Tuesday.
Yeah. No, I think at the end of the day, all politics is local.
Right.
So at the end of the day, you're going to see that even the national politics is going to be influenced by what is happening at the grassroots. And therefore, it is going to be more important to see when there's a contest between people within the same political formation, whether it is Jubilee or NASA, you're going to find that a lot of the decisions that are going to be made at the grassroots will influence decisions at the national level. You are hearing in the NASA zones and in the Jubilee zones, people beginning to say, I don't care what you do at the top, vote for me down here. And
Right.
this is coming from the independents. It is coming from establishment candidates, including candidates in the Jubilee and NASA formations. So slowly but surely, people are realizing the importance of making decisions about who the leaders are in their locality. And this is the kind of thing that the 2010 Constitution of Kenya intended, in order to reduce a lot of the tensions at the national level, to introduce more competition at the local level, and to make people within the same homogeneous group,
Right.
homogeneous community or
Right.
party, making decisions about their local leadership.
But how is...
So in my view, I think it's a good thing.
Right.
People will start realizing more and more the importance of their single votes. And this is going to be good for the country.
Really quickly, though, do you think the independents will make the big parties be afraid, especially NASA and Jubilee, if we see a number of governors elected as independents, a number of maybe senators go independent? Might that make them start reconsidering how they operate?
I think it is important. It is going to change how they operate. Firstly, how they carry out their nominations, because a lot of these independents are products of botched nominations. Right. And I mean, so going forward, they'll have to change how they nominate their candidates. Secondly, the independents are going to be a challenge on how they will be controlled by the party machinery when the president or parliament requires to marshal votes. So it's going to be a challenge for the establishment parties, and perhaps it will deepen the democracy within those parties and reduce these people who come out and call themselves independents, even though we know they're affiliated to these parties.
All right. I wonder if you talk about that democracy, perhaps in Mombasa is where it's most interesting, Yusuf, because the four main contenders are ex-ODM or ex-CORD. We've got Hezron Awiti, we've got Suleiman Shabal, who was in Wiper, we've got Hassan Omar, who is within the NASA fold. And we've also got, in that same place, we've also got Governor Joho himself, who's an ODM party, ODM official. Is that democracy, or is it the party kind of eating itself up and dividing its supporters in Mombasa, Yusuf?
I think what is happening in Mombasa, it is expansion of the democratic space within political parties. It appears that ODM has been the popular party, but the problem is that many candidates within ODM do not feel that there is true democracy within political parties. So this is why strong candidates within a party opt to go to different parties, and then that gives stiff competition when it comes to the general election.
But that stiff competition you refer to, Yusuf, what does it say about NASA that on the same stage with the NASA presidential candidate, Raila Odinga can't get Governor Joho and Hassan Omar even to look at each other?
Yeah, the problem is the philosophy behind Mombasa politics. In Mombasa, traditionally, we have that strongman mentality. We want a strongman as a leader. And I think this is a philosophy that Governor Joho has taken. This is why he's called Sultan. He wants to dominate. He wants to dominate the political space. He does not want to give his supporters does not want to give other candidates an opportunity to compete with Governor Joho, because it may appear to weaken him as a leader. So that strongman mentality is what has dominated the politics of Mombasa. And you know, the voters, most of the local voters are attracted to that kind of mentality. They are attracted to that kind of philosophy, and they think once they have that strong man, then that leader will stand up for their benefit.
Okay, gentlemen, I'm afraid we have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time. But maybe I'm curious, before you go, each of you really quickly, the 6-piece voting pattern has become very controversial. So in your specific regions, do you think 6-piece or what is called smart casual? People will pick an independent candidate here, one party there, the other. Tom Mboya, 6-piece or smart casual in Nyanza and Kisumu? What do you think?
But Larry, before we go to that, kindly, there's something that I think you brought up which is very critical.
Really quickly, Tom, I have to go. Really quickly, yes.
As far as, one, the 6-piece itself, as I've said before, is not democratic. And one, it depends so much on the popularity of those candidates. So those independent candidates that feel they are popular on the ground, I think they will get it.
Right.
Those candidates that are independent candidates, but they're not popular ground, I think they will not get it.
All right. Okay. Great. And Dr. Lukoya Twele, in the North Rift, in Uasin Gishu County, 6-piece or smart casual, how do you think this is going to play out? Again, I'm asking you to look into the crystal ball, but try anyway.
This is going to be smart casual. I think in many places it's going to be smart casual because it depends on the individual's popularity. Party loyalty is not going to be taken as seriously at the local level as the individual's charisma, individual's appeal to the voters.
Great. And finally, Yusuf, in Mombasa, in the coast region, again, 6-piece suit voting pattern or smart casual, do you think?
I think it will be smart casual. There'll be no 6-piece in Mombasa this time.
Excellent.
People will want to vote on candidates with
Okay. Again, he says smart casual. Let's leave it there, gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming on. We hope we can call on you in the days ahead to help us understand this, the most contested election in a generation, like we're calling it. Yusuf Abubakar in Mombasa, Tom Mboya in Kisumu, and Dr. Lukoya Twele, I don't know why I keep saying that, in Eldoret. We appreciate your time, gentlemen. Have a great evening. I'm sure you all have to go off somewhere. When we come back, Gladys Gashanja's much anticipated panel, the most anticipated focus group ever on television. We're finally ready for it. Gladys Gashanja is back after the break.
Thank you. Welcome back to Decision 2017. I am in the heart of the newsroom. With me is a focus group of 8 people, a representation of the electorate that will be going to cast their vote on August 8th. So the campaigning has been going on since the end of May, will end tomorrow. Have the political elite actually addressed the pertinent issues that the electorate, that resonate with the electorate? Well, we get to know about that and maybe give an idea of what they will be thinking about or where they're skewed come August 8th. Now, to that first question, those that are stakeholders in this election seem to be happy with the preparations that the IEBC has put in place, but is the electorate feeling that the IEBC will actually deliver a free, fair, and credible election? Well, that's the first question I will pose to Malasen. Hamida, do you think the IEBC will deliver?
I believe they will deliver because they've been in and out of the corridors of justice. I think they won't want to go back there.
Okay, yes. Now to Brightstack Kasioka, as a young person, do you feel that the IEBC has been considering you going into the next election?
Okay, yeah, I think they will deliver, but there are factors that will determine whether this election will be free and fair and whether they will deliver. Because one is whether the influence by people, will they be given free time for them will they be given free time for them to conduct the election freely and fair, or they will have intimidation? Because you remember, even in the 2007 elections, Kivuito said he doesn't know who won, so that means he had a lot of pressure, and if you are under pressure, you cannot deliver. And then second, the role of Musando. So we don't know the person who took over, whether he will be prepared enough to do the work, because IBC was not just set up yesterday. It wasn't, and it has been working like a team for some months or years. So for somebody else to just come in, then they have to do some technicals for him to fit in. Yeah.
Okay, to Sheikh Imam Athman Abbas, do you think the IEBC will actually make your vote count August 8th?
Yes, kitu nafikiria inshallah wao watafanya, kwa sababu wamejaribu sana kutengeneza kila kitu in order. Kwa hivyo mimi sina wasiwasi hivyo sana, na tumewaombea Mungu sana katika misikiti na makanisa. Naona wamefanya campaign, na naona japokuwa kuna matatizo ya hapa na pale, lakini kila kitu I hope inshallah it will be all right.
Okay, maybe I need to throw this to Diana Belter. There have been concerns from other observers that some of the police stations have not been ideal for people living with disabilities. For somebody who is living with a disability, do you think your polling station is ready for you on August 8th?
Well, I request all the polling stations to be ready. When it comes to persons with disability, I think they should be given the first priority, because there's this big disadvantage when it comes to the person living with disability. Most of them, they're scared to go and vote, and I think most votes going to lost when it comes to person living with disability. Most of them, they have IDs, but they don't have the courage to go and vote. So I request all of them to wake up and go and vote. Another thing, they should put into consideration when it comes to person with disabilities, they should give them a chance to go in front and maybe assist them. Yeah.
Okay, to Osieko Ouma, you have seen many general elections come and go. With all the political rhetoric that has been surrounding this coming general election, do you feel IEBC will deliver?
What we are seeing, I've seen some elections, and this one, I think there are so many things clouding it. And Kenyans are not living in a utopia. We are living utopia. I mean that imaginary world. And if the IEBC officials can come back down on earth, because they are operating on air, but I think they should have confidence when they are, especially their chairman, when they are addressing the nation, is as if he's not sure of what he's talking about.
Okay, now to Rachel Mombi, as a small-scale trader, come the general election, do you feel secure going to your polling station to cast your vote on August 8th?
I think I do feel secure because they have managed to cover of the issue, and whatever is left, I think they'll continue improving because people are able to go and vote on time. Throughout the other elections, we used to take such a long time. You'd enter at 6 and you end up voting like at 3. So even you're not able, if you run a small business, you're not able to go back and continue earning. It's like everything just stops. But I hope with time they'll continue improving.
Okay, Isaac Kenyua, security has been one of those issues that has come up over and over again throughout this electioneering period. Do you feel you're safe and secure going into August 8th?
Thank you so much. Yes, I do feel, first of all, the president has given all
men August 8th. They're sure some today.
Constitution, many people they are looking for seats, especially up country or here. You find that a ward has 40 contestants. So people going home, maybe they are going home because they want to vote in their people. Because when you come from a community, even maybe your brother is just fighting for a seat, one condition is that you have to go under 40. So that's the reason why you are seeing people moving here and there. According to me, I don't think that they are moving home because maybe they are fearing. They are going to vote their people in for them to get a cake to eat after they win elections.
Okay, Malasan, do you agree?
Well, partially. I partially agree and partially disagree because there are so many. And in line with bearing in mind I come from Kibra and there are so many people who are actually moving. And it has been deemed that Kibra is a hotspot area. So there's fear. And sometimes it can be fear of unknown, whereby it cannot be confirmed, but we are comfortable because of the assurance that has been given by the security agencies. And what I will just urge the security agencies just to keep vigilant. Yes.
Okay, now it has been over 2 months of campaigning from the political elite. They have transversed the country. Now, Sheikh Athman, do you believe tribalism has been heightened in the days of a campaign?
Tribalism ni kitu imeendelea sana na ndio kitu imerudisha watu nyuma sana katika hii maendeleo ya kupeleka nchi yetu mbele. Lakini nafikiri wamejaribu sana kubalance. This time wamejaribu sana kubalance na naona ni kama watafaulu kwa sababu wengine wanasikizana na wengine, lakini bado kuna hiyo tension. Hiyo ndio imeleta tension mpaka watu wanakuwa na wasiwasi, wanaenda nyumbani, wanarudi, wengine wanabaki huko. Kwa hivyo lakini tunaona itaondoka hiyo.
Okay, now various issues have been addressed during the campaign period that touch on different things. And of course, the things we cannot ignore are health, corruption. We've talked about the cost of living and food security. The lack of unga on your shelf for you, Samson Kumende, how has that affected your life?
Well, the issue of food is a natural calamity because some few months back we lacked rain. Since we lacked rain, there was no enough food to be put in a place. So many people should not use the issue of food, which was caused because of the threat we faced. You see, even noticed and you saw cows dying, cost, and whatever. Whom we never blamed somebody. So the thing is, we have got political mongers who want to use that as a stepping stone to pin down the president that he is not capable of feeding the people, isn't it?
Okay, Osieko Uma, do you agree with this? Is the cost of living politically driven, or is it something that has actually pinched you?
I think Kenyans are used to scoring their own goals. And also, it also depends on the eating habits of Kenyans. Kenyans believe that if they don't eat ugali, then there's no food. Even myself, I'm one of them. But I was forced to change the eating habit. There was a time Robinson Gidai suggested that even in Malawi, people are eating rats. But Kenyans do not go for anything other than ugali. That's why they are experiencing that shortage. Once they can adjust, that they can eat what is available, then the food shortage will not be experienced.
Oh.
When you ask them, it is only ugali. Is ugali the only thing which is food to Kenyans?
Okay, Diana Belter, do you agree with this? Is it about a mind shift, or is this a reality that needs to be sorted out by those that will get into office?
Personally, this has been a very big pinch because I prefer ugali than rice. And we have these cases of plastic rice. So we have this tension of eating or buying the rice, yeah? So I think they should do something about this budget because this is a very big disadvantage, especially to those who have small jobs. So most of them, they can't even afford the unga. So I urge the constituency to do something about the unga. Yeah.
Okay, now let's talk about August 8th. I mean, it has been a race of 8 candidates, but there are 2 main contenders. Now, come August 8th, the person you'll be voting for, are you voting in the person or are you voting in the party? Brightster.
Okay, it's a tricky question because in the Kenyan system, mostly people don't know how to differentiate between the party and the person. Most of the time, you'll see somebody saying that I'm voting Raila because of the party that he is in. But I think what is happening right now and what we thank God for is that Kenyans are getting enlightened. Like Kenyans right now are listening to manifesto, which hardly used to happen. Like right now, you can see like that guy, Ekuro Aukot. You can listen to him and you feel like this is somebody who has something in his brain. And even if I believe even if you choose you're going to vote Raila or Uhuru, at least now people are enlightened and they know that they are going to vote the person and not just the party.
Okay, Isaac Kenyua, for whatever presidential candidate you'll be casting your vote for, are you casting the vote for him, the personality, or the party?
I'm doing both. One for the party and for the candidate himself. Because first of all, we understand, maybe like, for example, I'm supporting President Uhuru Kenyatta. For his agenda to go through, he has to have Jubilee members of parliament, both in the National Assembly and in the Senate. So first of all, I'm voting in the party so that the work of the president can be easier. Secondly, I'm also voting in the development record because out of all those presidential candidates, very few, okay, I may only say President Uhuru Kenyatta has shown us what he has done and what he can do, other than all the other candidates who mostly keep on criticizing the other instead of telling the Kenyans what exactly they are going to do for the nation.
Okay, Rachel Mombi, even as they've been transversing and campaigning and speaking of their manifestos. Have they spoken to your needs?
They haven't spoken to all my needs, because when I look at like the small scale people like the hawkers, day in, day out, all the governments who have come in have never addressed that issue. Just the other day when I was passing, they were still being wrapped up by askaris. So I was hoping that in the next government, they'll be able either to address that issue, if it's about checking into the salaries of the askaris so that they stop extorting money from them, and making a better arrangement of the hawkers. If it's at all that they are interacting, you know, they are coming to the streets when they are not supposed to, maybe they should address that issue. Maybe they give, you know, certain days and they add more markets. They can decide to decongest them from the streets and have various markets in there.
Okay, for Sheikh Athman, have you read the manifesto of the party that your presidential candidate represents? And is your decision informed by the manifesto?
Manifesto ni sawa, wanazungumzia vizuri sana, lakini utekelezaji ndio muhimu. Mara wanasema kila kitu inasemwa, pati zote wanasema, lakini hatujui utekelezaji kama watatekeleza yale yote wanayosema ama itakuwa ni mazungumzo tu baada ya habari. Kwa sababu ikiwa ni mazungumzo, basi inakuwa tunaruka patupu. Lakini tuna imani hizo manifesto wanasema watazitekeleza. Hiyo ndio imani yetu.
Okay, now there has been a pull and tug between the political leaders, and they all have promised one thing or another. Others have gotten into alliances with trade unions. Others have been on the trail, launching new projects. Question is, after August 8th, do you trust they will actually live up to their promises? Belter.
Well, I trust. We've really gained a lot. First of all, I go for the manifesto and for the party. And I'm hoping after the elections, we'll still have the AGPO, access to government procurement opportunities, which is really there. And we've really gained a lot from AGPO. And I'm also hoping still they'll bring up much more expectations than we think. Yeah.
Okay, now, so, or rather, Osieko, do you trust that these politicians will live up to their word, or do you think what has been part of the campaign is just another political rhetoric?
To me, I believe that our politicians are political acrobats, and they live in their own world. And they think they are more Kenyans than the others. But basically, they don't actually address the issues which are actually affecting the common mwananchi. Because whatever they sell, you can preach water and you take wine. But to me, I believe that Kenyans themselves, if they can decolonize their minds, because we were liberated, but we are yet to decolonize our minds so that we know exactly these people who are actually vying, whatever they are selling is not exactly what they stand for. They are busy, majority are mobilizing their communities, but Kenyans will remain Kenyans. Okay,
Rachel, I see you shaking your head in agreement.
Yes, I totally agree with him. They do a lot of stunts, it's true. But I guess with time, since we are still growing as a democratic country, I guess with time they will improve. So I know there'll be still more changes that will take place.
Okay, maybe this question can be thrown to Samson Komenda. Even as you are a border operator, do you feel like your county leadership has taken care of your needs? Are they deserving of another chance, or are you ready to change everything over?
I think since I'm a patron to border, first of all, I have to thank the current government for giving us security when border are operating. Also, you see some border operators, they face many challenges. Being attacked, and the current government is there to give them security. I think if we are going to elect this government, we expect more so as that industry to prosper. to prosper by increasing some more border borders to elevate the youths who are jobless. And also, we'll ask the government to give us enough security. To give us enough security when we are operating.
Okay, Malasan Hamida, we had touched on the candidates, 2 main contenders, but we have the 6 others that would also like to be your president. And most of them, and especially this time round, we've seen a lot of independent candidates. Do these independent candidates matter to you? Have you taken time to listen to them?
Well, what I'll say about the independent candidates, okay, they have a right. It's like they don't want to be part of the party system and everything, but they still have a long way to go because a majority of the independent candidates, they actually lost the party primaries, a majority of them. Those who are vying for parliamentary seat and MCAs, we even have women representatives who are going on independent because they've lost. That is why they wanted to vie on independent. And the presidential candidates, I have an issue with them also, but I've had them. They have points. But for me, I'll stick to my presidential candidate and my party, who is Uhuru Kenyatta, because he has delivered. He has kept to his word, in line with the previous question that you asked. He has kept to his word because we have free primary education. We have laptops. Even as far as Marsabit, as far as Tana River, they have laptops, the schools. And also, in my area, we are very grateful. We've been advocating for title, security of tenure in Kibra, as a community of interest, the Nubian community, for as long as we can remember. We've been advocating for it for almost 100 years. And it has come to fruition. Uhuru Kenyatta has given the Nubian community title deed, so he has kept to his word. And there's a lot of issues, each issues in line with the authenticity of the title. And for us, I believe it is original, and we are grateful as a Nubian community.
Okay, to you, Brightstar. Are the independent candidates just a symbol of the losers, or are they a symbol of alternatives?
Okay, one, I think we have a confusion of what is independent. Because if it's being independent, I believe you should be independent from the start. You don't just be in a party and then after you lose, you become independent. That is fine, simply because you're frustrated and you lost the seat. But again, I believe if somebody loses and because sometimes the nominations are claimed they're not free and fair. So it will be so wrong to lock somebody out simply because they lost primaries. And how many people stand to vote for the primaries? Very, very few. And I remember in the Kiambu seat, they voted around 400, and they are 1.2 million voters. So we can't just say that simply because somebody was not voted by few people who went to vote for the primaries, they will lose. So what I believe is if somebody decides that they still have the muscles and they still have the time to go and vie as independent candidates, they should be given time and they should be listened, because we give people democratic right to choose. And when a leader tells another leader to step down for this other one because he lost and because he's independent, I think then you've denied them the democratic right. You should just let them be. If they believe that they can stand for themselves, that is. But I think in the next years, as we do civic education, we need to educate people. So if you want to be independent, you be independent. Don't just be independent because a party has not voted you in.
All right, Oseko Ouma, as you cast your vote on August 8th, what are you hoping that your candidate will deliver?
It is very tricky because to me, I always believe that Kenya will come out of its political doldrums. But when I cast my ballot on 8th of August, there are things I'll take into consideration. First, the future of the youth, the future of this country, because it's bigger than the personal interests. So I'll take into consideration whatever we have in place and whatever we might get before I cast my ballot.
Okay, Sheikh Athman, what will you be considering as you cast your ballot?
Mategemeo yangu naona itakuwa tu vizuri Wale tutawapigia watashinda na tunawaombea sana. Kwanza tunawaona ni wale tunawajua ni siri yetu tu. Hatufai kutoa sana kwa sababu si vizuri, kwa sababu inaweza kuleta fitina hapa na pale. Lakini hawa tunawapigia, tunajua wataingia. Na hiyo ndio tunaomba, na tunaomba amani kila wakati. Kwa hivyo msiwe na wasiwasi.
Rachel, going into August 8th, are there specifics that you expect that your candidate will deliver after elections?
Yes, I expect them to improve the services of the small people, to, like in case of people who have small-scale farms and people who do small-scale business. I expect them to open more industries, both small-scale and do micro business, and be able to grow into a bigger, into even to partner with private sectors so that we're able to grow better and contribute to the economy. So I expect that for him to emphasize on that, which he has been doing pretty well. There was a time, the president had been able to gather the private sector. I hope he improves on that, because that's where all of us lie through. And to also improve the services of, receiving money to continue, expanding our business.
Okay,
Yes.
Isaac Kenya, the primary, so many bigwigs, if you may say, call them, in the political world, shown the door by the electorate. So clearly the standards for the electorate have gone higher. What do you expect from your candidate come August 8th or after August 8th?
First of all, I expect my candidate to ensure that the welfare of the university and college students is well maintained, because you understand most of the youths who are lacking jobs right now are graduates from the universities and the colleges, and they are all learned, but it's just that our economy doesn't have space for them. So that's the first thing that I expect my president and even my governor, senator, women rep candidates to take into consideration. The second one, thanks to the current government, we have the UWEZO fund, we have the youth fund, but we expect that fund to be devolved even the universities, because when you go to the universities, we have so many brilliant ideas, but we don't have that fund in our universities. So that's also another thing that I expect to see done. And then also thirdly, I expect to see the stadiums. And this time round, not the stadiums in the manifesto, but the stadiums, because our universities and colleges have great talents, but it's just that we don't give them, the students, enough platform for them to showcase what they have. So those are the key things that I want my candidates to do after the 8th of August elections.
Diana Belt, there seems to be a feeling of change. People want to see change. People want to see the systems actually working for them. So what do you expect from your candidates?
First of all, I pray for peace in our country and free and fair elections. We also need civic education for the person living with disabilities. We have so many people, they are not aware of their rights, those who are disabled, I mean. So we need civic education. We also need to see these people who are begging out of the streets. We need to help them. We also have AGPO. It should also continue, and it should, maybe they should even put it higher than 30%. Yeah, that is what I'm hoping for.
Bright Star, when you think about your life after August 8th, what are the things you'd like to see changed, or for the better, if you may put it that way?
Okay, there are many, and most of the people here have highlighted them. But I hope there will be peace, especially that, because without peace, nothing else will happen. After August 8th, we will go to what happened. And this is one of the most contested elections, because unlike before where you could predict who will win, this time if it's free and fair elections, then it can go either way. So we pray that even after August 8th, there will be peace, and then people will accept the results. But for them to accept the results, there's this one thing I want to say. People have been preaching about peace all over. I think next time when we are preaching about peace, we preach with peace and justice. We don't just tell people we have peace, because those are starter packs for countries that have war. they say peace so that people can be conditioned their minds that we need peace, and even if there is dictatorship or something of that sort, we don't need to change it. So I believe in the next years, as we advance, we will teach people about justice, because there can never be peace without justice.
All
and that
right.
one used to annoy me so much.
Okay, so Osieko, as an elderly person, having seen many regimes come and go and many elections, what will be your message to the electorate and politicians, even as we go to August 8th and even after?
My appeal is that peace is a commodity which people do ignore. But when it is lacking, then people actually discover that it's very important. Because peace in full is that people are created equal. P-E-A-C-E. People are created equal. So once you actually accept that, because even our Creator, God is not waiting on earth to vote to know the outcome. It's already actually known who will win. So we cannot force. God will give us a leader, and we should also support whoever God will have anointed. So my appeal to Kenyans, let us not take peace for granted. It is peace, and without peace, there will be no development, there will not anything which can happen in this country. So let us embrace peace.
Okay, there you have it from the electorate. We've had a lot from the political elite, but today we got to listen to the electorate. They are the ones that will be deciding which part, or rather which direction the country will take after August 8th. And we shall continue hearing from them, because as we know, the official campaign period ends tomorrow, but the electorate continues to look at these politicians and make their decision as to who will take them where they need to and will be catering to their needs. Well, we're done here from the heart of the newsroom. Remember, this is the first focus group ever put on national television. We shall continue in our continuing broadcast throughout Decision 2017. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Gladys. And the focus group, I have to say, they've sat there for over 3 hours waiting for this conversation, and many have been responding, even within the studio, in response to what they were saying and raising. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Always refreshing to hear from real voters and the issues that matter to them. And of course, we'll see how they vote on Tuesday. Now, this just in. Mark Masai's twin happens to be running in the IAAF World Championships 10,000-meter final.
Yeah, you know, the jury's still out on that, because I still don't know my dad. But yeah, my brother Mo Farah is doing the race. And yes, Kenya will be aiming to spoil the party of double world and Olympic champion Mo Farah in the 10,000 meters race at the World Athletics Championships, which started at 11:20, ongoing right now.
That's right. And those live pictures were courtesy of Super Sport, Geoffrey Kamworor, Paul, and Bedan Karoki.
100 meters race will be going on, and I'm sure we'll be able to capture
David
that.
Rudisha will be rooting from him.
Actually,
right
he
here.
is, yeah, he's out on injury, but we still have 2 more who hopefully will bring us the medals.
All right, that does it for us here on Decision 2017. Thank you for watching. I'm Victoria Rubadiri.
And I'm Mark Masai. Dabala Ine is still with the gentleman on the other side of the studio, still talking about the matters security. Over to you, Dabal.
Thank you very, very much, Mac and Victoria. Of course, we were looking at that. Tanui really straining out the leash, and we were really hoping that he will actually garner this as well. Right, we want to continue with the conversation here, of course, with our panelists. We've been eagerly waiting also for this forum just to clarify on a raft of issues as far as security and elections is concerned. And before also we took that particular break, we were looking at what is in the Constitution and what is domiciled there as far as the deployment of the KDF is concerned as well. Right, let's just continue with Murunga. Actually, you were to clarify something from the Constitution, I think on section 241 of the Constitution.
No, it was 58.
58.
And 241. Okay. But I think it was raising unnecessary heat, because I think interpretation of the law is the job of the courts. We can talk here until tomorrow, but I think it's only the courts that are allowed to interpret the law. If we don't seem to agree, then the only person or the only institution to do that. We had a heated argument here, and I don't want to feel like I'm saying what is not right, and I don't want to argue on something that I might not have the capacity. No, the law is interpreted by the courts. That's why people go to court for interpretation of the law. That's what the Constitution says. So any other person, even if we have lawyers, they'll always go to court for interpretation of the law. So I don't want to get there. I think I'll be happy if we speak on things that are very clear.
Thank you.
Under this.
Captain Wanderi, we want to clarify all this, then we move to other issues as well.
Just simply to say this, I think when we are talking about police seeking the assistance of the defense forces, Article 58 of the Constitution is irrelevant, because it actually falls under the Chapter 4, which is of the Bill of Rights, and circumstances for delimitation of Bill of Rights, rather than on the deployment of defense forces. And this is in the rules of what we call the canons of interpretation of law. First, we look at the placement of the chapters of the law and even the chapters of the Constitution, as well as the then enabling legislation that interprets that section. So if we are to talk about the deployment of defense forces to assist the police in terms of emergency and disaster, we would critically focus on Article 241 as read together with sections 31 to 35 of the Kenya Defense Forces Act, number 25 of 2012. We will not be looking elsewhere, because the other article in the Constitution talks of totally different things under the chapter on the Bill of Rights.
All right, let's hear from Charles as we're going up on this, then we'll come to you.
I agree with him, and that is what I was saying. But I would also want to tell my friend Murunga that we cannot run away from interpretation, especially when it comes to operational matters, because we must deploy. So as a retired captain and as a policeman, it is still fair that we understand it in the simplest way possible. And my argument was that we could not, in this case of assistance that the police would seek from the military, be taken to Article 58. I said we restrict ourselves to 241 as read with sections 31 to 35 of the KDF Act. And my concern is that you are aware that Parliament is not going to sit at this particular time until after another Parliament is put in place. But we would like to tell Kenyans that there are situations that under Article 241 3B, that we don't need necessarily to pick on the authority of the National Assembly to be assisted, especially on emergencies or disasters. Because even when there are floods and maybe we need to evacuate and we need maybe an aircraft.
I want to say something before, Prof.
Okay.
Just 1 second.
Yes.
You know, I asked a question here and nobody answered. The determinants that create what is to be declared a state of emergency and what is emergency under Article 241, are not explained in law. And that's why I'm saying, as we sit here, there's no competence on this table to interpret this law for Kenyans to understand exactly. Because when you say this emergency is under police, assistant to national police, 241, and then this one is talking about the declaration of an emergency, and it speaks about the same things, disaster, emergency. I think we have no competence on this.
I think it's also
It
is also wrong to say, Dibal, it is also wrong for Captain Werunga to mislead. There is a law in this country on that. There is a Preservation of Public Security Act as read together with the Public Order Act. And the Public Order Act is what the police use to deal with riots and unrest, in civil unrest. Now, when it escalates, then you employ the Preservation of Public Security Act, and that is where state of emergency is defined and how it escalates up to the point where a state of emergency is declared.
Let me read this, and I
I
don't want to go beyond this.
As well as
let it finish.
We do not have the public.
Murunga, are you trying to imply that no? I want to ask a question.
Wait, no, just let me finish.
I'm moderating. Let him finish his case first.
Because here we have two other laws, okay, which we are not getting into here. The Preservation of Public Security Act and the Public Order Act. Mr. Owino knows when they are declaring a riot that you now seize, what law do they use? The Public Order Act. When you are declaring an area a security zone, which law do you use? The Preservation of Public Security Act. And it goes further to define then what is a state of emergency.
I want to finish.
No.
This is a sensitive issue, but I want to ask him one question.
Yes.
Is there a situation we can deploy military to assist us without authority of parliament? Just answer the Republic.
Yes. When parliament is not in session and the president is given 7 days to inform the speaker if he's not there, the National Security Council will determine how that is going to be deployed.
Right.
But as I finish 58, I want to debunk this friend of mine here. A state of emergency may be declared only, listen to me very carefully, the word is only, under Article 132(4)(d), and only when the state is threatened by war, invasion. So bringing here preservation of public order.
But then, no, don't close it. Just a minute. There is a difference between state of emergency and emergency. And when you leave here, go and take your time and read it.
Let me, Duvall, address this from a global standpoint, and I will quote former Joint Chief of Staff of the U.S. and also former Secretary of State, Colin Powell. Powell said that soldiers are warriors. They're trained to kill. If you have to use them for civilian purposes, for any reason, there are two criteria that must be met. One, this duty must be selective and limited in nature. And two, they must have clear mission and exit strategy.
Thank you. All right. Also, Charles, we want to hear from you. Of course, we've had IBC chair asking that they should actually be assigned security personnel because of this critical election that we're headed to. Has that has that particular request been observed?
Yes, that has been done, and I think this morning we have deployed extra 52 officers from REC company to secure the IBC commissioners. Equally, the Inspector General has given very clear instructions, especially on arrows, because these are the people that are most important, that the counties and the county commanders and the OSPDs have to give them sufficient security during the polling hours up to the point of declaration of results, and also to enable them to forward their results to the constituency tallying centers, and then the national tallying centers. And this is a very clear instruction from the Inspector General, and we are observing that very keenly. And if need be, we will be able to deploy even more security from our standby forces, especially from the General Service Unit and the REC company.
All right.
Yes.
Also, we're given to understand that, yes, they've deployed some military also to, take charge of the masts that will be transmitting some of, the results to the polling stations as well. But the question is, why are we not as a country also taking charge of making sure that election systems in this country are declared a national critical infrastructure? What are we waiting for?
I think, Dibala, if you have been following the debate between the National Police Service and the IEBC, and for the first time, we've said it during the other shows, that we've seen quite a lot of synchronized working, where you have the IEBC chair and the IG read from the same script on certain things. And I'm happy when Mr. Owino says they have added extra security to the IEBC officials. That needs not to be gainsaid. However, when it comes to critical infrastructure, you remember recently, after the unfortunate loss of one of the officials, the top officials, the chairman said that their servers and there are even what is called the disaster recovery plans and the business continuity plans are fully secured. What he meant, and he said he doesn't want to get into the details, for the reason perhaps the arrangement they have with the National Police Service is to secure them in a manner where that not everybody knows where they are, because that then becomes critical infrastructure. Just like as it is, if you want to and there's a place for where the missile bombs are, you probably, perhaps you will know they are secured, but you will not be told where. And perhaps we would want to trust them at this point that that they are doing the right thing. However, let's mention on when you talk about the critical infrastructure, we going into an election which is heavily dependent on technology, and heavily dependent on technology to the extent of identification of voters and to the transmission of results, and that is critical. And this is why if you look at the frontier counties, the Tana River, Lamu, Garissa, Wajir, Mandera, and to some extent parts of Marsabit, then you need to deploy Kenya Defense Forces, because that is their forte. That is a front. Those are the border areas. And as late as yesterday, but one, we had an attack on Lafay police station in Mandera. And if you can see that the Al-Shabaab were able to use rocket-propelled grenades to hit at a police installation, that then caused critically, and we in fact, we cannot be gainsaid that at that point, then we stop because we are putting our police officers at risk, because they do not have the equipment and the capability to respond to that kind of threat.
All right, Captain Wirunga, you might want also to...
Yes, I think, and I think I'm in the know, that after Westgate attack, there was a serious discussion on matters of critical infrastructure to the nation. And I know there's a policy that came out. I know a friend of mine who was in charge of KenGen, and as we were discussing about our water pillars, our power generation installations, I think that is the first time the government sat down under the National Security Council to come up. I don't know whether they came up with a policy per se, but I know from after the Westgate, there was a serious undertaking to secure, and I believe there's a plan in that for that. What I don't have, or what I cannot competently say, is whether it came out as a policy or as a plan. But I know there was a serious discussion in Harambee House. National Security Advisory Committee discussed that issue at length, and most of these other organs that actually are critical to the survival of this country, for example, the water towers, the power generating installations, and anything that was determined by the National Security Council. So I know there's something in place. I don't know whether it is a plan or is a policy, but yes, something was done after that.
Something was done, and of course there have been a lot of deployment of police officers, and we're wondering, of course, also with this critical installation like the water towers, we know we need also police officers, like a large contingent of police officers. I'm given to understand maybe for one water tower we'll have like 12 police officers, but right now maybe it might it has been scuttled down to, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4. Maybe you'll tell us of this, but we want to hear from Professor. What is your reaction, especially on the critical infrastructure? Why are we slow on the uptake to make it, a critical infrastructure in the country?
Dubar, when we look at security, you cannot just look at one element of it. There is a whole string that tie all together, from inward and then out. So there are three critical things here that are important. One is protection of vital economic resources, including fiscal infrastructure. That's one. Second, prevention of terrorist insurgencies that are coming in to attack us within and without. And thirdly, reduction of localized conflict, you know, Samburu and all that kind of thing. That's all tied together in a way. And therefore, you're looking at the use of police that, that Charles has talked about. And then on the border, you're looking at the military. You know, so all those things, all those contingencies strategically got to be communicating with each other.
Right, Charles.
Yeah, I think with, first of all, with the promulgation of the Constitution 2010 and the Police Service Act, the Administration Police Service was given a very critical role, which was new to the usual roles on protection of vital installations and government buildings. And that is the unit that would be used even for water towers and such like. Now, if you look at IEBC, at the time of election like this, you find a bit of their infrastructure is not static. It's like, for example, if you talk about BVR, you have to deploy it to every polling center and polling stations, so it is not static. At that particular moment, it is given the necessary protection that a critical infrastructure would be given. It's a small equipment, but it is given all the protection that it requires. But if you now come to the IEBC headquarters, you find that we have treated it as a critical infrastructure because throughout the year, whether it is before or after, like now even after these elections, we'll continue protecting the IEBC headquarters up to, again, the next elections. So as much as it may appear that it has not been declared a critical infrastructure, but if you look at the mode at which we are handling the institution, and even if you go to their stores, we give them security throughout. They're handled in the same way. Maybe the power generation stations would be handled. So as much as it may not have been declared, but you see all our actions on the IEBC infrastructure is taken care of.
All right. Well,
but you talked about the masts,
yes,
for example. Not all masts would be protected by the military. Only masts that are in critical areas. Like, for example, if you go to along the borders, like in Boni,
yes,
in Lamu, just like he had said, you know, police cannot be given same equipment and capacity as the Kenya Defence Forces. The Kenya Defence Forces has a critical role to protect the country from external aggression. The population of the police is very high. So if you give the police equivalent infrastructure, equipment and capacity as the military, then you demystify the role of the military because we are many. We can overrun the military. So practically, the military will always have a higher equipment because the security forces must be graded for purposes of management, discipline, and security of the nation. So if you go to such like areas like Mandera, like Wajir, where we would have external aggression, especially now with the problems of insurgencies of Al-Shabaab and terror, then there is need to deploy military.
All right. Now, allow us just to give closing remarks as we're winding up, and I'll give you also handy opportunity to speak to Kenyans, just also to quell the fears, if there is any, about the coming up general election next week. So let's begin with you, Captain Waderi.
Yeah, Nibal, to fellow Kenyans, we are getting into a critical time. We've been preparing for this election for a long time. A lot of things have happened, but it has now come to the crunch time. And the thing that I would want to tell Kenyans is, one, is that the IEBC have said they are ready in terms of their materials and distribution of their materials and officers and their equipment. The police have also confirmed that they have deployed adequately. Now, what I would want to tell fellow citizens is that Any policeman, any police officer in uniform is your friend. Any police officer wears that uniform at the behest of the Republic, and the Republic is Kenyans. That police officer is not your enemy. Do not see him. He's an agent of the state. He's not an agent of a political party. He's not an agent of a candidate. A police officer is a protector of life and property. Do not raise disaffection against our police officers. They're going to be under very tough situations. They're going to work. And where, as Mr. Owino has confirmed, where they may even need assistance of other agencies, they may call upon them. And it is upon us and incumbent upon us to behave in a manner that also ensures that the police give us the best service that they can.
Fair enough. Let's hear from Professor Naomi Daba. The closing remarks.
My fellow Kenyan, creating harmonious, coherent society will require the following. One is citizen awareness of issues that are presented to us. Second is high level of you citizen participation. And third is high level of ownership of issues that are presented. Next is high level of tolerance over diverse opinion. And lastly, commitment to civil rights of every Kenyan citizen.
Thank you, Professor Nomidamba. Let's hear from Captain.
Yes, I think three issues. One, we request our police service, whenever they are called upon to uphold law and order, we request that they operate within the law. These Kenyans are your brothers and sisters. Sometimes we see some sorts of overbearing, but we ask them that let them not be the initiator of problems during these elections. Let them do professional work. We know most of them are very professional. And then secondly, we ask Kenyans to obey the law. They need to respect the police. They need to know that the law must be obeyed even during elections, and let them stick and operate within the law. And thirdly, even where Kenyans see the military, if they are not in any way part of the general operations of this deployment, yes, they need to understand that the military is also deployed, for example, for critical infrastructure. Yeah. So that is my request to Kenyans, to the police service, to the military, so that we go through these elections and debunk the myth that the world has about this country.
Right. Charles Owino, this is the opportunity.
Thank you so much. I would want to tell Kenyans that we are committed to providing security and ensuring that there is a free, fair, and credible election for our nation, because we need this country for the purpose of our development and growth. We need to do more business, make more money, have a peaceful environment, and be happy for the days that God will give us to live in the country. I want to assure Murunga that in event that we are called upon to quell any small riot or something, we'll do it within the law. Actually, the equipment we have brought, especially the water cannons, we've done it in such a way that we have put in very good colorations, that if we throw it at you,
you become white.
No. It sticks. So I don't need to struggle. I'll just follow you, pick you peacefully, and take you to court.
Yeah, okay.
The only problem is that it's a bit itchy. Yeah. So I have to warn, especially the ladies, please avoid it. But we're not threatening anyone. What I'm saying is that we have a responsibility as a nation, and I want to ask all Kenyans, please assure us, the police, that you are going to keep peace. Assure us of your security. It is Kenyans to ensure that they don't attack their brothers. They must be tolerant, as Professor said. They must be people who obey the law. We only have one day to vote. Let us vote peacefully. And I would request, on the night prior to elections, let us agree with our local chiefs where we are that we limit movements, so that if anybody is planning to attack, to disrupt, then we will be able to determine that these people moving at night are not supposed to move. Otherwise, best of luck. We will take care of you We are highly professional. And please don't provoke us. Let us just remain brothers and sisters.
Thank you. All right, fair enough. And I want to thank you, my panelist, Captain Dr. Simiyu Runga, who is the CEO of African Center for Security and Strategic Studies. Also, Captain Collins Wanderi, who's an advocate of the High Court, and also a security analyst, Professor Naomi Damba, who is an expert on defense and foreign policy. Also, the VC, the Vice Chancellor of KCA University. I want to thank you very much also for your valued company. Also, remember, we shall be continuing covering live, of course, wall-to-wall, wire-to-wire live coverage of the final campaign, the final stretch of NASA and Jubilee. That will be happening tomorrow here on NTV. Thank you very much for your valued company. I am Dibala Inea.
This is NTV.
Majina yangu naitwa Cecilia Njeri na mimi ni mmoja wa kikundi inaitwa Duberi Kirathimo Disabled, na hiyo kikundi tulianzia 2010 tukiwa members wa 6. Tukasikia kama kuna pesa za Women Enterprise Fund, tukapewa 50,000. Project yetu ya kwanza ilikuwa ya beadwork. Kwa hiyo tukalipa hiyo 50,000. Tukaenda step ingine 100,000. Sasa hii project ilikuwa inaleta pesa, kamalisia hiyo ya 100,000. Sasa hiyo 200,000 imetupeleka mbali sana. Tuko na kaduka pale mmetukuta. Tunaendelea kupata pesa kwa Women Enterprise Fund. Mkubwa wake anaitwa Omina Bananya. Hachagui, hata tunajisikia tunaweza enda mbali sana.
President Uhuru Kenyatta launched an ambitious 38 billion shillings project to equip 96 hospitals nationwide.
We were able to renovate 2 theaters.
Patients here appreciate the government installing the new facilities at their doorsteps.
Hospitali iko kila pahali. Hata wametupatia mashini mpya kwa serikali yetu. Mungu aongeze.
The installation of